Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. So right now there are quite a few hot and expensive comic books on the market. So for this video, I wanted to stick to the theme that we've kind of been doing on the channel here of just getting more bang for your buck. And I ended up coming up with a short list of 7 sleeper CGC 9.8 comic books that you can invest in. But before that, really quick, I would invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8. And yeah, I would love to have you on our comic book collecting and comic book investing team. And hit the bell for all the video notifications. Add me on Instagram and Twitter as well. All the links in the description below for all that stuff. So yeah, as I said, sticking to an underfollowed list. I think right now in this sort of time where it's like, you know, like all the Null books are really hot. There's like Miles Morales Fever and Batman Beyond's really hot, and Star Wars Clone Wars, like that book is just taken off so much, and there just seems to be a lot of really hot books right now. So it makes sense to think of some sort of underfollowed and underappreciated comic books. And yeah, a great list of them. To be honest, all these books are just so wantable. So let's get right into the list here. First book is a Batman Annual number 14. Yeah, how cool of a cover is this? And it's by Neal Adams. Yeah, just such a classic artist. And this is an early 90s cover, so one that certainly tends to be overlooked. And I think at times annuals in general can be overlooked, but a lot of them have really cool first appearances and really cool covers like this one. And I believe they retell the origin of Two-Face in this one. But Batman Annual number 14 is just a really cool, like in the raw you can buy this really cheap, and it is such a great Neal Adams Two-Face cover in the 9.8. And this kind of made me think of it because on eBay I had saw a listing for a 9.8, and I was like, wow, that is a pretty cool 9.8. Having a look on the census, there were only 9 CGC 9.8s in the blue label for this one. So really underfollowed and not a lot of 9.8s, but you know, would be one to kind of try to find in the raw and get graded, and try to get a few more 9.8s out there. The CGC 9.8 ratio, 23.7%. So, you know, for an early 90s book, that's not too bad at all. And you know, it's a 1 of 9 9.8, but a pretty rare ratio. So if a lot of these tend to get graded, this could be a pretty low ratio book in the CGC 9.8 for an early 90s book. But kind of more about that sort of 1 of 9 in the 9.8 at this point. Great one to get in the raw too. Again, I think you can get a really nice copy pretty cheap in the raw for a Batman Annual number 14. But as I said, a CGC 9.8 of this popped up and caught my eye, and kind of is sort of the reason probably why I put it on this video, because I saw that listing. But another thing that caught my eye is it ended up selling like a day or two out. I sort of added it to my watch list, but shipping to Canada was way too expensive anyway for me, so it didn't really make sense to me. But it ended up selling for $149.99, a 1 of 9 in the CGC 9.8, you know, yeah, so you know, not really a key issue or anything, and this is one you can pretty much buy sort of very fine near mint for like 10 bucks, not even maybe. So an interesting one that, yeah, in the 9.8 is one sold for $149.99. I thought that was pretty expensive for a book like this, but given how cool the cover is, this is sort of an underfollowed one that was overlooked in the early 90s with a classic artist and a great cover that I think has potential. And maybe not one to, you know, you can try and get one of those 9 in the 9.8. It's pretty hard to, but yeah, I think this is a really cool one to sort of pick up in the raw too. So one to consider, Batman Annual number 14, really cool Two-Face Neal Adams cover. So next sleeper CGC 9.8 to consider is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 1. But I want to talk about the 4th printing, this one. And yeah, you know, I've sort of mentioned the 3rd printing is kind of, you know, a really great one to go after in the CGC 9.8 if you're serious, if you want a serious investment grade book. This one's even more affordable and maybe not as serious as an investment grade book, but it is still an early Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 1. Yeah, it came out in, I think it's 85 or 86, 1986, forget which year, but let's have a look on the census for this one. 46 CGC 9.8s out there, so still not very much out there for, you know, first appearance of the Ninja Turtles. I think it looks pretty, the 3rd printing, I think there's maybe 30 something, or maybe 40 something, yeah, it could be a sort of similar number of 9.8s to the 3rd print. but the pricing a little bit different. This one much more affordable. 24.9%, the 9.8 ratio, which is way different than the third print. The third print is, I think, 7 or 8% or maybe 6%. It's really low. It's a really good sort of investment grade ratio, which is why I sort of prefer the third print maybe for an investment grade book, but this one more affordable. I saw one sell just in the last little bit here. It was like $350 or best offer. So I'm assuming it's sort of, you know, I'm going to say the range is sort of $300 to $350 for this one in the CGC 9.8. I think that's a really cool collector item. You know, first appearance of the Ninja Turtles. There's a little bit of added material, I think, from Eastman and Laird in this one too, but if you're a little more on a budget and you're a huge Ninja Turtle fan, I think this is a really great one to get in the CGC 9.8. And the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures #1, and I've recommended that one in the past, I think is another great one to get in the 9.8. If you want to spend sort of more like $300 rather than the third print in the 9.8, it just sold. It was like $1,400, I think, in the CGC 9.8 white pages. Yeah, I was watching that one, and someone on the team had let me know that one, and I was kind of thinking of pulling the trigger again, but didn't end up going, and it sold in like a day or two. So these are wanted, and if you're more on a budget, yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, the fourth printing is pretty cool. Yeah, with the colored cover, and yeah, it looks different than the three original printings, which is maybe why it's not as cool and it is less expensive, but still a cool Turtles collector item. All right, next one is a Deadpool #1 from 1997. Yeah, this is kind of one of those classic 90s books that I always sort of point to, and being a pretty big Deadpool fan, I always wanted one in the 9.8, and I grabbed this one quite a long time ago, but yeah, with this book, I think, you know, thinking about X-Men coming back to the MCU, there's quite a few books that got hot. You know, Uncanny X-Men 266 comes to mind in the 9.8. That one's going for quite a lot more in price than what it was like 6 to 12 months ago kind of thing, when people weren't really speculating about X-Men coming back to the MCU or anything like that. But, you know, lots of talk about sort of X-Men and Deadpool movies and things like that. So in this book, you get a first appearance of T-Ray. And T-Ray's he's like Deadpool. He's like a mercenary, but he's a villain. So he's like Deadpool's arch nemesis pretty much. They're both mercenaries, and he wants to kill Deadpool, basically. So T-Ray's, you know, one of those, you know, solid Deadpool villains that could always show up in the MCU for sure. And Blind Al is so cool. Yeah, first appearance of Blind Al in this one too. So first appearance of T-Ray and Blind Al, and yeah, Blind Al is like Deadpool's Alfred, but she's blind. Blind Al. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I remember when I found that out a couple years ago. But yeah, Alfred, or Blind Al, Deadpool's Alfred, kind of stealing from the DC there, but making it so different that they can't really do anything DC. But no, yeah, super cool idea. And yeah, Blind Al being in the movies, the Deadpool movies, was really cool too. So look on the census though. This one's a little more popular certainly than the first couple books there. 486 CGC 9.8s out there. So kind of a 1 of 486 collector item, and it's a 28.3% the CGC 9.8 ratio, which actually is not too bad for, this is a well graded one. This is one that really sort of got really popular. This could be on a cold list really, yeah, and it fits on a sleeper list for sure. Because I think when those Deadpool movies hit really hard, this was quite a lot more in the CGC 9.8. Decent 9.8 ratio though for a mid-90s book, to be honest. Yeah, 28.3% of all graded copies are 9.8. So this is one where, you know, you get a couple first appearances in here, and there's always that possibility that they'll be on the MCU, and that they'll make an appearance in the MCU, and that could help the book. But having a look at the prices for this one in the CGC 9.8, because I saw these go for pretty cheap before, like as low as like $160 before. And saw one sell just not too long ago on eBay, just doing some of the research for the video, at $220. And then kind of quite a while, maybe a month or two ago on the completed listings, there was one that went for $170. So yeah, one recently kind of sold for $220, and you know, maybe it is heating up a tad with the hot market and, you know, Deadpool coming back to the MCU kind of thing. But yeah, I think this is a book where you could, if you're a big Deadpool fan, you can kind of buy this one right now for a decent price, and it hasn't heated up as much as like an Uncanny X-Men 266 first full Gambit, like that one. You know, that one people are sort of speculating that he'll come into the MCU, and I think you can speculate that maybe T-Ray and Blind Owl come back, and certainly Deadpool will come back with a movie at some point. So it's kind of a good time to just buy Deadpool right now in general. So one to consider, yeah. T-Ray's pretty cool too. I think you know, that would be they can make him look really cool on the MCU for sure. Okay, next one here, yeah, is Justice League number 50. So Justice League number 50, I think, has, for a modern book, has one of the coolest covers going, I think. For, you know, I think it, you know, it's sort of a minor key, I would say. It tends to be somewhat overlooked and not too popular, but it's a Jason Fabok cover, Justice League number 50. It's the first appearance of the 3 Jokers, and it's the, I'm pretty sure it's the first time, too, like Jessica Cruz puts on the Green Lantern ring and, like, becomes a Green Lantern. Like, you actually see her all in the Green Lantern get up. So yeah, Justice League number 50 with the cool cover and all those you know, seminal moments, I think is a really cool one to consider. So there's 75 CGC 9.8s out there in the blue label. Pretty weird one on the census. It's a 93.7% of all graded copies are 9.8. So it is a new book, and you know, I think right from the bat, like, people really liked this cover and kept it in really good shape and wanted it graded. So yeah, quite a high 9.8 ratio, so not really rare in the 9.8, but with how cool this cover is, it looks really good in kind of a 9.8 slab. So Justice League number 50 for the price too. We'll talk about the price here. So a couple have sort of sold in the kind of 120-ish area. I think, being that this is not too rare in the 9.8, you might want to be a little patient and, you know, definitely get it under 120. Although, if you really wanted it now, you know, I'm the type of person, just to get that pride of ownership, I'll probably just pay an extra $20 just to get it now. So I wouldn't blame you if you did that with this one. But yeah, I think under 100 is doable. Like, you know, if this pops up in an auction, you could probably get it for like $93 or something like that. But yeah, one that's not expensive, great cover. Little bit of potential, I think, with those first appearances. Certainly it'll heat up if, you know, there's ever like a Jessica Cruz Green Lantern movie or something like that, and something in pop culture comes. So I just think, though, you know, pride of ownership with this cover would be really cool. So yeah, Jason Fabok on the cover really just nailed it. So yeah, one to consider around $100, Justice League 50 in the CGC 9.8. So another one I think that maybe hasn't taken off as much, but is a sort of MCU speculation type of book, if you can think of that. It's X-Men number 24. Yeah, a really cool cover, and you get Gambit and Rogue kissing. So, you know, you're kind of speculating here, maybe in the MCU they'll get a Gambit and Rogue romance going, and I think this is one right now that I'm pretty sure on eBay, yeah, when I was doing some of the research for this, there was one for, I think it was $125, like a buy it now on eBay right now in the CGC 9.8. Shipping was kind of expensive to me, otherwise I would have been very tempted, to be honest. So X-Men 24, Gambit and Rogue kissing, classic cover. There's a 38 CGC 9.8, so not too many out there for sure. A 1 of 38 collector item. 52.1%, the CGC 9.8 ratio. So for this one, I really think you can, it's another great cover. It's one of those books that you can have great pride of ownership if you're a big X-Men fan for sure. But I think it's worth sort of, you know, people are buying 266 to sort of speculate on a Gambit appearance in MCU movies. So a romance with Rogue, I think, makes sense, and I could see this book going for so much more if Gambit and Rogue kind of kissed and there was a romance on MCU kind of thing. So a lot of speculating, you never know, but again, if that doesn't happen, cool cover, great book, you can really like to have this one. So with that one, about $125 on eBay, I think that's actually a pretty bang on fair price. Like, I didn't see any completed listings for this one, being that there's only 36 out there in the 9.8. One, you know, a lot of these too you can get in the raw for a lot cheaper. It's certainly worth mentioning. And But X-Men 24 is you know, one you can consider now that hasn't really blown up in price any more than it used to be. I think it's still a cool niche book, but if Gambit and Rogue have a romance on screen, this one would be a lot more than 125 bucks. Like, yeah, I could see people paying $250 for this one in that environment kind of thing, maybe even more, with there only being 38. But such a cool cover. All right, next one on a sleeper list here of CGC 9.8s is Incredible Hulk Annual number 5. Yeah, this is one we discussed on our Incredible Hulk video that we did not too long ago. This is the second overall appearance of Groot. And yeah, I think Groot is like definitely one of the most popular Guardians of the Galaxy. He's one of the most recognizable, kind of Groot and Rocket Raccoon, probably. So yeah, this is one where this is the second appearance of Groot, so you might think, oh, not that big of a deal. But the first appearance was actually in 1960. It was like Tales to Astonish, I think it was 30-something, I forget. But this one coming out like about 16 years later, in 1976, the second appearance of Groot. So really sort of almost the first modern appearance of Groot. But yeah, it's an annual too, you know, kind of sometimes these annuals tend to be a little bit overlooked. On the census, 36 CGC 9.8. So yeah, a 1 of 36 collector items, pretty cool. Certainly if you're a big Guardians of the Galaxy fan. And yeah, I think this one kind of stands out for sure. And the 9.8 ratio, it's an older book, so you expect it to be looking pretty good, and at 9.6%. So yeah, just getting in the single digits there. So of all graded copies, 9.6% of them are CGC 9.8. So nice and rare. Only 36 9.8s out there. So this is more of an investment grade book. One had sold on eBay for just over $400. I think it was like $405 or $410, like a week or two ago. Yeah, so I think the range on this one, you know, the market's quite hot right now, so I think it's kind of $350 to $450, let's call it. And yeah, I think for one though that, I mean, this is a 1976 book, and you know, you can still get it in the 9.8, still got a pretty cool first appearance that I think has more, you know, potential. So yeah, this one does kind of stand out as just a really old book that you could still get in the 9.8, and I think it'll be worth it to do. So it kind of reminds me of like a Star Wars #1. Like, that's still a pretty old book, and you can get it in the 9.8 for a decent price, although that one's like over $1,000. So this one's even better than that when you think of it from that way. But yeah, I really like the classic cover. Groot's cool, lots of potential, and you know, for a 1976 book in the 9.8, around $400. I mean, I think that makes sense with that Groot appearance. Okay, last book on a sleeper list, and I got 2 of them out here. Yeah, it's a Wolverine number 88. So yeah, sticking to quite a few books here that you could sort of, I think, are kind of good like secondary speculation books right now in this environment, with X-Men coming back to the MCU, and how everyone, you know, like I said, that Uncanny X-Men 266 First Gambit has really taken, that's the one book I think of that's really taken off. But these have that potential, and that with X-Men and Deadpool coming back to the MCU kind of thing. But Wolverine 88, there's a 79 CGC 9.8s in the blue label out there. And yeah, this is the first time Deadpool and Wolverine battle. So yeah, it's such a cool Adam Kubert cover too. Yeah, I love this cover. Classic like mid-90s cover. Yeah, really nostalgic, this one for me too. This was kind of one I loved when I was a kid, but I didn't have. So I wanted to make sure I had a 9.8, and yeah, luckily to grab 2 of them for sure. Yeah, but just one of the better 1990s underfollowed covers and kind of moments in comics too. With yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine fighting it out for the first time. 46.5% the CGC 9.8 ratio. So of all graded copies, 46.5% of them are 9.8s. Not too bad, nothing to really write home about too much, but better than being over 50. So yeah, not too bad. So Wolverine 88, yeah, you know, I purchased mine over about a year ago, even over now. And you know, when I sort of had made videos about these in the past, and lately I did not actually see any on the completed listing research for this video. But the last ones that I did see sell were, I think it was like $149.99. And I'm pretty sure one went for like $175, or it was one, you know, sort of in that area. I think that was sort of the high for this book. Yeah, and you know, mine, I grabbed both of mine for under $100. One was $100, one was like $99.99. And the other one was in an auction. I got a really good deal, and it was like 50 something. I forget exactly, but such a good deal on one of them. But with the cool cover, and I was making quite a few videos, I think, you know, I mean, the cover sells itself. It's just, you kind of immediately want it. So I think, you know, I am sort of on the record as maybe wanting one more. Like, this is just one of my favorite 90s underfollowed books that you can get for cheap kind of thing. So I would definitely pay up to $150 still for this in the CGC 9.8. If and I'm every now and then I definitely do a Wolverine 88 CGC 9.8 search on eBay, and hoping for another to pop up, because yeah, cool moment in comics, cool cover, cool 90s book. Not too many of them out there in the 9.8. So yeah, get it while it's under 200 while you can, is sort of would be my thing. Yep, and with X-Men coming back to the MCU, yeah, this could be a really good one too. Yeah, I think X-Men 24 and this one, really solid on that. Like, you know, they're underfollowed right now, but if you know, the movies come out and there's, you know, any fighting with Wolverine and Deadpool, or any kissing with Gambit and Rogue, I think those books will be so much more than what they are now. So maybe good spec ones with great covers that you can just enjoy. That's my kind of sweet spot for comic books, is like, you know, great covers, awesome artists, and moments in comics that you can enjoy no matter if there's a movie, but you can kind of think like, oh, that would be a really cool movie. And if it does come out, like, that's a great feeling. You kind of foresaw the movie, you used your Jedi powers and foresaw. Okay, so that was a list of 7 there. I'll have a full list in the description below. Last one, Wolverine 88 there. Let's get into the top picks though really quick. Yeah, just boiled it down here to 3. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, first top pick, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, 4th print. Yeah, you know what, it's still affordable, and it's pretty rare still, like only 46 of them in the 9.8. So if you're a Ninja Turtles fan and that, you know, the other 9.8s are out of your budget like we talked about, this one just fits right in. And yeah, Ninja Turtles is so collected. Yeah, these just, they tend to sell really fast, and certainly the 3rd prints sell really fast. They just really wanted by collectors, and there's not a lot of them. So yeah, top pick #1, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1, 4th print in the 9.8. Hopefully grab that one around $300 bucks. Second one, Hulk Annual #5. Yeah, just a really cool classic cover. First modern appearance of Groot, I'll go with, because yeah, it's sort of, you do the Batman thing where like they get their first appearances in the modern age kind of thing. But yeah, being all those years after the first appearance, and Groot, I think, is probably the most recognizable character in Guardians of the Galaxy. So this is a really old book that you could still get in the 9.8. So I think it's kind of a good one around that $400 area. I mean, considering what like some Null books are going for, and Miles Morales books, and I mean, some of these modern books are going for so much. Like, you get this really old book in the 9.8 with a sweet first appearance, or second appearance, whatever you want to think about it. Yeah, I think this is has to be on a top pick. And the last one here, I sort of alluded to it. I'm gonna do a 2 for the last top pick: Wolverine 88 and X-Men 24. And you can even add Deadpool #1 in there, because they're all sort of books that haven't really increased in value that much in the 9.8, but I think they're decent spec books on the X-Men coming back to the MCU, and there being a possible Deadpool connection, because there's a huge Deadpool X-Men connection. So yeah, Wolverine 88 and kissing cover X-Men #24, and Deadpool #1 I guess we'll throw in as the last top pick, all together on pretty decent, still affordable MCU X-Men spec books maybe. Okay, that'll be it for the video today. So yeah, you know what, I think you know, there's at this point there's a lot of hot popular CGC 9.8s right now, so it's still kind of, it makes sense to kind of stay in this mode of trying to find like sleeper comics or cold comics or whatever you want to call them, because yeah, just some of these modern CGC 9.8 prices are getting a little bit insane. And yeah, I pretty much like all of these books, even that 1976 Incredible Hulk annual number 5 and the 9.8 are pretty much less money than like any of these hot books right now in the CGC 9.8. Like a lot of, especially some of the even modern variants going for, you know, around $1,000, things like that. So yeah, these type of sleeper CGC 9.8s even come more into focus even more. All right, yeah, if you haven't already, really quick, I would invite you to join the team and subscribe to Team CGC 9.8. Hit the bell for all the latest notifications. Add me on Instagram and Twitter as well. All the links in the description below. I'll put a list of the comics in the description below too. But yeah, thanks so much for watching today. I think there's some great ideas, and I mean that first cover with the Batman Annual 14, like I am definitely searching raws in that now, and yeah, I might even head over to my local comic shop like right after I do this video to hopefully see if they have any in the bins. Such a cool cover. But yeah, definitely a great 7 to consider here that hopefully you can get at a fair price and not have to pay these like expensive hot prices. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.